So I think we all know Netflix doesn't really have the best reputation when it comes to their anime releases and how they really garner hype behind certain series that they decide to license. I mean, just look at JoJo's Part 6. Is anyone even talking about it? It's crazy how the hype for one of the most beloved franchises in all of anime is down the drain because of Netflix. So given Netflix's history, I was ready for their newest anime on the block, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, to drop, have people talk about it for maybe like 2 days, and then forget it ever even existed in the first place. However, fortunately for us, Edgerunners ended up being an incredibly gripping show, using Cyberpunk 2077's premise to create an incredible anime, all masterfully done by the studio that can do no wrong, Studio Trigger. Edgerunners takes place in the same universe as the game it's based off of, Cyberpunk 2077. I don't really know why I'm saying this, the show is literally called Cyberpunk Edgerunner. You know what? Some people are a little slow, you know what? And that's okay. So in this universe, basically everything is monetized. There's insurance for everything, you gotta pay to visit sick people, hell, you can even pay to straight up get stronger without having to touch a simple weight. People themselves have become more integrated with technology as well, being able to seamlessly communicate with others and also having chips inside of their necks. The wealthy are the most protected in this society, and the poor are basically treated like garbage. If you can't pay for what used to be a basic human right, well, you're not getting it. Our main character is a promising, upstart high schooler named David Martinez, who attends an academy meant for the elite. He's not the most well-off person in the world, with him only having his mother as a means of support and her being his only family. He's not accepted into the circle of elites either, which leaves him conflicted and rebellious. He often engages in BDs, or brain dances, for entertainments. BDs are basically chips that allow you to relive someone else's memory with all of your senses, from physical pain to emotions. The BDs he engages in are particularly violent and show him the dangerous demises of cyberpsychos who overloaded their bodies with chrome to the point of insanity and death. Things go south for David very quickly as his mother dies as a result of some unrelated crime while driving. David soon finds himself broke, with no way to sustain his existence as a student of an academy that he never really wanted to go to in the first place. So like all logical people, guess what he turned to? You know, maybe a part-time job, maybe become an entrepreneur and try to make an honest living? No. None of that. Instead, David got a dangerous military-grade weapon that he found out was in his mother's possession, drilled into his back by some crackhead doctor using no antiseptic or proper medical practice. You know, a good old normal procedure. The cyberware David had installed into him is called the Sandevistan, and it allows him to basically move at insane speeds, going so fast that people around him seem like they're stopped in time. Using this device, David stumbles into an edge-running gig after running into a peculiar girl named Lucy on a train. Through Lucy, David becomes an edge runner, using a Sandevistan to blitz people and take the chips in their necks and sell it as data for profit. Sounds like a not so clean side hustle at first, but this shit gets very serious, very dirty, very quickly. David gets introduced to a crew that does dirty work for fixers, stealing data from VIPs of organizations like Arasaka and Militech. The crew consists of David, Lucy, the leader Maine, Dorio, Kiwi, and the crackhead siblings, most notably Rebecca, who everyone loves. They all have different tasks when it comes to jobs, whether it be mowing down opponents with bullets or deep diving into their conscience to steal data. The nature of these jobs gets increasingly more dangerous as the show goes on, and we see these crew members get killed off as they run into more problems. I won't get into how and when these deaths happen for spoiler reasons, but eventually David finds himself having to step up for the group. He modifies his body with even more chrome to get stronger, and we get to see how this enhanced physical ability takes away from his humanity and his ability to properly think. What makes Edgerunners so interesting to me is that it really isn't a happy story at all. We get to see characters just to watch them die the most brutal type of deaths. We see our main character David go from a potential-filled edgerunner to an out-of-control cyber-psychotic inflicted maniac that kills everything around him, from his objective to innocent bystanders. It's sad and surreal, but I can't really blame David. After all, I've seen him lose everything, trying to cling on to optimism but realizing that he needs to dirty his own hands to chase his dreams, but ultimately later on down the line he ends up chasing someone else's. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is extremely gritty and unforgiving. It shows how brutal a scavenging, thieving life is, and how the elites are always the ones being protected even though they're the ones getting people killed. We see how money can control society in the show and how the pursuit of it can end up in meaningless death, violence, and destruction. It's sad, but it's spectacularly and grippingly sad, largely thanks to the incredible adaptation it was given from Studio Trigger. In terms of the production, what can I say? This show is very distinctly Trigger, from the thrilling action scenes that include nothing but large-scale mayhem to the extremely dynamic facial expression changes that often look wacky out of context. The Edgerunners' production is helmed by director Hiroyuki Imaishi, who also directed Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann. Safe to say, this man's a legend, and he continued to show his directorial prowess in Edgerunners. Chief animation director Yo Yoshinari also shines in Edgerunners, which is to be expected since he's the man who created Little Witch Academia and has also worked alongside Imaishi on numerous occasions. Trigger's A-staff is also present in Edgerunners, with both Sushio and Kai Igarashi storyboarding episodes. Episode 10, which was storyboarded by both both Yoshinari and Sushio ended up being one of the best episodes in the series for me, although we all know episode 6 was the best. This all isn't really that surprising given who was behind the wheel in the first place. The staff in general is just stacked, as you can tell, with the animators like Ichigo Kano and Hidenori Makino showing up on multiple episodes. Music is handled by someone who seems relatively new to the industry, Akira Yamaoka, although despite their inexperience, they did a phenomenal job with the chaotic, thrilling soundtrack accompanying Edgerunners. So yeah, that's Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I highly recommend watching it, especially the English dub. Not only does it feature Giancarlo Esposito, it's genuinely really fucking good, and the dialogue in English is way better than it is in Japanese. Netflix really captured some lightning in a bottle, and although it isn't too likely, I hope you eventually get a spin-off for it. And if you're not convinced about how good Edgerunners is, it literally gaslit the developers of Cyberpunk 2077 into developing a sequel. It literally went from the worst, most anticipated video game release of all time to getting a sequel.